architectural services, so I didn't follow the architecture route, so. I'm sorry, I forgot your name again, sir?
Jim.
Jim. Well, welcome. It's 9 o'clock, so we kind of begin. If anybody's got any specific questions or topics they'd like to talk about, we can always do those first. Anything?
I just came to see the fireworks.
Well, hopefully there's none of those.
Well, I must say, we have friends from Minneapolis, and they are getting quite a kick out of what's going on here. Which is why I'm here, because she said, what the heck is going on in Orono? And I said, we'll find out.
We just built a new home right on the very edge next to Long Lake, little development called Willow Bay, right?
About which day?
Just off of Brown Road, Willow Bay it's called, right next to Warren. Oh shit, I can't think of his last name either, but just off of Brown Road, just off the intersection of Wayzata Boulevard there.
Okay, yeah, no, that's, because that's still Orono.
It is, we're right on the very edge.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, it's right on the edge.
Yeah, about, we had lived out on the river and moved over here, so it's all new to us, so I'm in the same boat. I just read all this confusion or,
There's no confusion on the council level, there's more confusion in the audience. is what it is.
Oh, so you blame everybody? Really?
it's
Well, there's certain people that I really won't communicate with or have dialogue with, because it doesn't go anywhere.
I got a question for you. You asked for questions. You stated at the last meeting that you sat with City Administrator Adam Edwards and worked with him to accomplish a goal. And from what I understand, that violates city ordinance, that council members and mayor cannot direct city staff and you have to do it all together. So can you please comment on your violating the city ordinance?
You know, with anybody who's got lawsuits against the city, I'm not really gonna have communications with according to my agenda, so I'm just not gonna.
Your attorney that we are all paying for. We're
Like I
paying
said,
for your private legal
This is
fees.
the way it goes, it becomes just a monologue.
No,
with-
just answer my question.
And
Just answer my
I'm not gonna
question.
Communicate with people who have lawsuits. That's
Ju-
just a standard.
It's got nothing, first of all,
Lawsuit, there's 3 of them in here.
first of all, I'm a resident of Orono longer than you. I deserve the respect of having my questions answered in an open forum. You asked for questions. Excuse me? You were talking about you were talking about me monologuing. Can I please finish my comment?
You can finish your monologue, sure.
It's not a monologue, it's a question. It's a direct question related to your behavior violating a city ordinance. Can you please comment on violating the city ordinance when you admitted up on the stand last council meeting that you solely directed city staff when the ordinance is there to prevent that from happening?
Everybody has their own opinions of things, that's for sure, and they like to spew, but I'm not gonna talk to anybody who's got lawsuits.
That's not an
Continue
opinion.
that, And we can end this thing if you want to, but otherwise I'd be glad to
I
talk to
don't
you.
have a lawsuit,
Right.
and I'm very curious, because to this gentleman's question, and to several other things that seem to happen in this community, that I've spent a good number of years on the planning commission, so I've watched this community work over the years, long before you came here. And we used to have a very cooperative, open city government. And now it seems as though it's being run as though it were, I'm gonna use the word fiefdom.
What's your
And-
question?
And my question to you
That's a
is,
statement.
when are you going to start running this town as those of us who have been here for many, many years are accustomed to, which is open and honest, and a place where the mayor doesn't pay for other council people's election activities, where the mayor doesn't plaster his picture everywhere he can, where the mayor doesn't put himself in the community newspaper as though it were his private advertising. When are we gonna get back to that? Are we ever?
Well, I will tell you, I take offense to a couple of those statements of honesty, etc. We are the most open council that this city has actually ever had. The council before I was on this, refused to approve, everything being on video. We have all of our, Parks Commission, Planning Commission, that we brought the transparency to everything. We brought it to the city staff of putting everything online and digitizing everything, that you can get everything. There's no more kissing the ring and doing favors for people. It's all in the open. We've done everything across the board, consistency for everybody, and that's why all the crazy lawsuits that have, like I said, all been thrown out over time, multiple times with multiple people. So I take issue with your question about actually openness, because we are the most open that there has ever been in this city.
Well, being recorded and being open are two very different things.
I guess we can argue about that opinion all day long, but there used to be mayors, and we can go back to Jim White, who said, if you wanna know what's going on, you have to come here, because we're not gonna put it on video. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You can now sit at home and look at all of our stuff.
Because
That
that's
is as
safer
open as
for
it
you.
gets.
Because that's safer for you.
No, it's
Because
not.
if people sit at home, then they're not here to object to what you do.
So no good deed goes unpunished by making it so you can watch it online, that it makes it safer for us, and you think that's the reason why we've done that?
I didn't say that's the reason you did it,
Well,
but I would say that an added
you-
benefit to you is that you don't have people here. We had participatory government before, and it seems to me that we're getting further and further away from that.
Okay, so define it, okay, now, show me an example.
People
of-
would come to meetings,
We have.
and
people
they're,
coming
and
in all the
they're,
time.
but you seem to shut them down rather.
How do I shut them down?
You just told them you're not gonna talk to them.
Well, when
Just
you,
like you shut this
when
gentleman
you
down.
have lawsuits, then obviously you must be friendly with these people.
I have never met this woman before in my life.
I have never seen any of these four gentlemen, nor this woman, in my entire life. I have no idea who they are.
When you come in with preconceived notions and make statements about my honesty, my
I come in
integrity.
with this, okay? This is what brought me here.
Yes, and those have always been going out.
I know they've always been completely your picture by now. Most years before you were a little bit more comfortable now.
Well, the staff kind of has done that.
Well, you know what, the staff supposed to do what you did, but,
That's what I mean, there is obviously an agenda of what you're talking about. And that
yeah,
seems very clear to
I
me.
came here because I think that things need to be, when someone from another city says to you, what the heck is going on in your community?
And I keep
And I
telling
haven't
people,
been able to be
there's,
here because I've been taking care of my mother in Florida,
I keep
okay?
telling
So
people,
I've heard
there's no
all these
dysfunction
things.
on the council, there's dysfunction in the audience.
Well, there's no dysfunction
All
in
the
the council
time,
because
when it
you
gets to a
can't
certain
pick
part of
them
it.
all. You can't pick the council. Of course, there's no dysfunction in the council.
Actually, no, the voters actually pick the councils.
With
Yeah, and
Well,
that,
I
I
help
take
you.
issue with me handpicking
with
the
a heck
council.
of a lot of help.
and last election, the voters chose Alyssa Benson, who you guys continually denigrate up there and treat like crap.
Well, you had one of them quit.
Well, she
And
had-
as for
she
this
did-
whole business about the fire
well,
department.
she did resign because she had work, family issues, she had a lot of stuff going on, and I think I put that in the newsletter last time as well. She did a great job, she had 6 years, and she had family issues and work issues that came first. So I found a very great person to put in her place, that's longtime Orono resident, and she's gonna do a great job, very independent.
Through
Well,
a,
the one person who was not here to be interviewed in the public forum.
Yep.
She was the only person
But she
who in
was
fact was
interviewed.
interviewed only on the phone by the council, not in front of the
And what's
public.
wrong with that?
Everything is wrong with that.
Okay, well,
If it's a
see,
public, if it's a public office, okay, for which people were to be interviewed, if she wanted the job that badly, she could have been here.
well, we can argue about,
Well, it's
What your
another
opinion is.
example, that's a good example
that's an
of how
example
you
from
run things.
your opinion.
It's called optics.
That's
It's
your
from the public's
opinion.
opinion.
That's
We've been, again, more open and transparent than any council, I just.
That's you.
Then-
That's like my, that.
Nobody believes you.
Answer that, yes or no, did you
Again,
send me those
I'm not
videos
talking
for
to
the
you.
fishing bots?
Are you just gonna be here?
Did
and
you
be
email
angry?
me yesterday
Are you
or
just
did
gonna-
you not?
Are you gonna be angry today and just yell?
you're the angry one, we can we can see it in your demeanor.
Hi, Dennis, how are you?
You're exposing yourself.
Pretty good for an older guy with a pacemaker.
I I did not know you had a pacemaker.
Oh, why did you come here to cause any trouble? Because I don't need to have my heart rate raised. Pacemaker takes care of that for me.
Well, anything you've come here with, I know, we spent the last 10 minutes with this,
Well, could you answer one of her questions?
That's not fair either. You've not spent the last 10 minutes with me. This gentleman has spoken, that gentleman spoke, this gentleman spoke. You have a really, really bad habit of trying very hard to control the situation by talking the loudest, by being disrespectful, and by running what is, in my opinion, one of the worst governments the city has seen in a while.
well, I disagree. I think it's probably the best government the city has ever had.
Of course you do.
We never had lawsuits. We didn't have lawsuits.
7
like-
open lawsuits, 7 of them.
They're all gonna get wiped
7 of
out because they're all.
Because you're the judge, jury, and executioner.
By the way, my wife won her motion to dismiss. She's gonna win this lawsuit, okay? She already overcame your hurdle. For you to sit up there and say they're all gonna be wiped out is so disingenuous, it's ridiculous.
Flipper,
Malicious prosecution. You all criminally,
We didn't have lawsuits.
Oh, you mean these lawsuits
Frivolous or not.
started before me, before I was even on the.
No, they didn't. No, they
That
didn't.
gentleman-
No. My lawsuit against, my current lawsuit against the city started just recently. My current lawsuit started in March.
I'm not gonna talk to these guys anymore.
Well, I want to know why it is that we ever got on this trail. I mean, I've read in here one side of the story about the Long Lake Fire Department. And as I said, I've not been in town as much as I normally would be because I had to take care of my mom. But, the business of this, all of a sudden, we have to have our own fire department, where in fact we are now, as I understand it, paying for a fire chief and a truck, and we don't have a department.
Is there a question here?
Yeah, I wanna know how it is we got down this road on the fire station without there being any kind of
Uproar.
public
No uproar.
vote. It's a pretty major undertaking at a time when most fire departments are crying for firefighters. Why are we trying to make a whole new department?
Well, I've told this many times, this is not gonna be any new information that's been around, which sounds like you have. And we've been having these discussions for 3 years. In the council, we've had these discussions. So
In
it's
the
nothing-
council.
In the council, we've had these discussions.
There's the key right there.
And-
You've had them in the council.
Yeah, at the council meetings. Yeah, at the council meetings. We've had them at the work sessions. This has been going on for 3+ years. The contract is ending. We feel it's in our best interest because there's been lots of external.
Who's we?
The council, actually, when the contract ends, which it is ending, we're not ending it ourselves, it's just ending.
Actually,
Well, it's been renewed.
actually, it's not the whole council.
There is
You,
no
you,
renewal, it says ending.
it's not the whole council. You can't say it's a whole council.
Options in place then.
It could have
You would
been.
have to, you have to.
You chose not to.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna
That's the
interrupt me now, constantly?
As long as you do it.
Okay, well, then we'll just skip over this, we're done.
We're done.
We're done.
What a great
So,
coffee.
you think it's okay
Look
to
at this coffee. He won't talk to 3 people.
Well, if you wanna interrupt me, I mean.
I'd like to hear the rest of your answer to this question.
Keep talking. I'll be quiet.
The contract is ending, like I said, we feel it's in our best interest to bring it in-house. We pay for, I think 87%, we use about 72, which is just, that's not the reason, that's just a fact that's out there. We have much better staff, we have HR, we know how to budget, and we found out a lot of things in the last 18 months that are a little bit shocking of what has been going on with the Long Lake Fire Department and budgeting from a council perspective and what they've held back. And they've admitted that they've underfunded it and not told us about it. And we only get a know the information based on what they give us. But now that we have our own chief, because even if Long Lake said, let's keep everything the same, but you can run the fire department. we still have to have our own fire chief. We have to set up our own fire relief association, and we have to have our own fire department state number. All those things have to be done still, and that's what we are doing, and you can't do it without a fire chief. So those things are in place, moving forward. We've already got 2 firefighters that have already, Joe and Orono is on call fire department. We already have 2, and we haven't even had our open house yet, and that's, our first one is tonight. And we're not having any problem, we haven't had any problem with police, the same issue, because we do things right, we budget right, we're the top shelf in the community, we are fully funded, we are fully staffed, and everything we do, because people know we do things right. And we're gonna do the same things here, and we're the ones who found out that call times, there's problems with call times. Long Lake has never known that. We dug through, got the information, and figured it out. And so we're gonna, as we move forward, we're gonna solve that problem too, and use best practices as we should.
Solve that problem if you're possibly proposing to put a fire station right here, less than a mile from the fire station, right there, that you say has poor call times. How's that gonna fix it?
I don't understand. Well,
The question is, if you've got a fire station
well,
less than a
it's-
mile away,
It's in there. You
less
read
than a
that.
mile away, and you've got, and you're saying
Okay,
that one
do you
of the
know-
potential uses, may I finish? One of the potential uses for the existing public works department is to put a fire station there. How is that going to improve call times?
The call time problem, if you read the article, is in Navarre. It's not up here. There's no call time problems under the.
Why are we building a fire station in Navarre?
Well, because we need one. Well, we have one. We already have one, we own it.
Well, then how come that's not working?
Well, because Long Lake hasn't.
If that's what the
Long Lake-
problems are, excuse me, that's what the problems are. You said, we can do everything better. All your problems are where you have a fire station. Well, explain that.
It's not where we have the fire station, it's because of the issues of daytime call times, which again, is in the
I know,
article.
I read that.
It's from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, and you solve that with duty crews, which is the model we came up with, to say this is how you solve that, and then it'll solve all.
Duty
Why don't
crews.
you do it now?
Long Lake is,
What is to keep you from doing that now in the Navarre station? We don't have to build a whole new fire department. All we have, if the problem is Navarre, why don't you solve Navarre's problem instead of trying to wipe out everything that's been around?
that is just one, that's just something that we found out. That's not the reason we're doing our fire department. I already told you, and it's in the article. It's ending, we're bringing our services in-house, because we,
Because you want to.
I think it's clear as a bell that it makes sense. Everybody I talk to says it makes sense. We do 85% of it, we are the fire department, but we have no control and no say.
You're talking to someone, you can now say, everyone, but at least one woman I spoke to.
Okay, I found one person, I found one
I think there's
person.
another one.
Two. 2 people, anybody else?
4 people.
Yeah,
Oh,
4.
my God, yes.
And
I
if
found
you
4
had
people.
any kind, if you were to actually hold a meeting where you listened to people who came on this topic specific, if you were to hold a special town meeting on the topic of a fire station, and people were to sign up, whether they thought it was a good idea or not, then I'd like to hear you. That's
Well, you know, they already made their decision, the citizens actually made their decision. There's 2 different points there. They already made their decision, they elected us to make the best decisions, which we have done.
No.
Which we have done.
You cheated the
All
first
over the
time,
years
you
with
were
technology, with budgeting, with roads, with infrastructure, we've done it all that, and we've made great decisions. And to this day, you wanna go to Long, you should go to live in Long Lake, you'll pay twice as much in taxes.
Don't trade your arm pad
Half as
yourself
much.
out of that.
So we are the standard, the gold standard for budgeting, for everything
We're
that is
the
going on.
laughing stock
We are.
of the county.
Well,
That's what
Yes,
we
you are.
We're the laughing stock.
Yes, you are.
We are all jealous of everything that we.
Jealous. Envy and jealousy now.
We've done the best budgeting you can do, we've done everything right,
Mr.
police,
Trump,
everything.
Mr. Trump, is that what we should be
Well,
calling
you know, you
you?
can have your own opinion, and I'm telling you my opinion, and if you don't like it, that's okay. You know, we can agree to disagree, but I'm telling you the facts from my standpoint, which are indisputable. You go to Long Lake, you can spend twice as much on your taxes and get half as much They don't have any money for roads. They don't have any for water and sewer infrastructure. We have all of that in our budget. The auditors are amazed at everything we have in place
There's
and that
no
we have
reason for
done.
amazement.
It's amazing.
Long Lake is
We
this
have been
tiny
amazing.
little
And
entity
we will,
of rather inexpensive homes, surrounded by an enormous community with lots of very expensive homes. And that's why our tax rates are so different. Now, if you can't figure that out, then you don't belong as mayor or as a real estate agent.
well, I
Because you obviously don't think, you don't know what either one of those is.
disparaging
Well, you
statements to me all
started
the
with the
time.
architects.
No, I
You
started.
with the architects. Yeah, you did. Sorry. You started it. But, I'm really sorry, but I think.
You don't seem like you're sorry. You have obviously very,
She's being respectful.
you have
You're
hard
a
opinions that are
little-
obviously very anti-Denny Walsh.
You're interrupting
You
her.
have come in here with strict anti-Denny Walsh statements, and that's all you've made so far. So I would say, I know where you're coming from. We can agree to disagree, but I tell you, what we have done for Orono is amazing. They are such in place on everything we have done. It is amazing. We lead the standard on what you can do in
No,
this
you're not.
community.
And I came in here and
It is amazing.
I asked you two simple questions. Who does your tree work? And who's the architect for public works? You know the answer to either one of them.
Not
If
off the
you're
top of
so
my
on
head.
top of it and you're running such a wonderful government, why don't you know these very basic questions about how our town is run?
Well, I do know all the details, and I found them for you. Didn't take me long.
We had to look it up, you didn't know it.
I didn't want to give you the wrong answer. I want to make sure I had the exact, and the tree trimmer, we can have any tree trimmer we want, depending on what the public works is picking. They don't ask us who to pick. They pick them because unless it's over a certain dollar amount, they don't need our permission, so they just go do them. And that's the flexibility we've given staff here, is to go make decisions on a basis where they can do that kind of stuff and get stuff done.
Make decisions you agree with.
All
Probably.
right, Dennis, now we spent 25 minutes, and I've still been talking to you, so I'm gonna give Dennis an opportunity to see if he's got something to
Well, I
to
didn't
bring
really
here
come,
today.
come with any kind of an agenda at all. I'm here to learn as much as I am to maybe share some helpful information, but there are so many different topics, and, I communicate a lot online. I have some skill sets to narrate and try to explain things. A lot of people don't care that my narratives are quite lengthy, and I don't bother to write them like a letter to grandma or, a poetic composition. I write things on the internet that are much more technical, because I think a lot of these questions and a lot of the answers to the questions are more technical than people give the mayor or our current government credit for. But, I'm sitting in a room full of adversarials and people who already determined as a group collectively, obviously from the agreements that you have.
Excuse me?
That you don't.
I don't know this lady. We're not a collective group.
Yeah, could we stop a second and let people talk
I
when they're
don't,
talking?
I don't know this guy either.
Yeah.
Well, don't interrupt
It's
them,
not
and
a
you'll get your
collective group.
chance.
He's the only person that didn't say anything, but everyone else here has an adversarial attitude, which is almost uniform. But what I'm trying to make a point of is, I talk to firefighters, I talk to educators, I talk to business leaders in the community all the time. And what you need to understand, which I don't think you have a grip on, is there's a whole contingent of people who actually voted for the current administration, who voted for the decision-making that I've seen change way more to the positive and the better, because I've lived here 30 years. I've been involved in city government either as a volunteer or a volunteer in the community for those 30 years that I've been here. And I know that you've sat on the council, but I also remember a city council where I came to see an appeal on behalf of my neighbors for issues that were important not only to me personally, but I was here to speak for my neighbors who didn't have an ombudsman, who didn't have someone to speak for them. And I had to deal with a city council where there was a mayor and two city council members that we jokingly used to call the organ grinder and her two monkeys. because there was no original thought among two of the city council members. They were entirely making decisions based on what the mayor had decided. I'm a seated planning commissioner with another, I'm in a second term, I have 2 more years left. And what's really exemplary about the group that's at the planning commission is the diversity of the backgrounds and that fact that we don't always agree. The city council that I see now is so superior to the city council that we had before, that when Mayor Walsh, as a seated city council member, and Aaron Printup were the defenders of my neighborhood. They were the people that were really trying to listen to the voice of what the neighbors and the citizens needed. And the mayor and the other 2 city council members, in lockstep, were influenced by outside puppeteering, someone who wasn't really in city government, but was influential with the city council. And when Mayor Walsh and Aaron Printup became kind of our voice as the public, I saw in Mayor Walsh somebody that I would rather see sitting in the mayor's seat rather than the puppeteering that was going on with the current mayor. And so I will confess that I worked diligently for months to assist Mayor Walsh in becoming elected. And I can tell you that in comparison between that previous city government that we had and the way that city government is run now economically, and as far as the decision-making and the impartial politics involved in it, it's so far superior to what we had before. That's why Mayor Walsh is still here. Because besides these voices that are in this room, there's a very large silent majority of people who do believe that the city government is doing the right thing, is heading in the right direction, and has the economy and the real good of the many over the good of the few in mind. And
It's
that's
supposed to
really
be
all.
everybody, not just one group.
You're a
That's the
small
problem.
contingent, and you're not
Silly.
even,
Well-
you're not even a resident.
You don't even know who I am. I had run-ins with Lily McMillan as well, and guess what? I didn't need to bring a suit against her or the city.
Well,
This man
didn't
I
men-
had.
I didn't mention any names, and, you know,
Well, I did, because we know who you're talking about. You don't have to.
No, is it okay if I respond to that for a second?
Been here 56,
Um,
7 years.
Brad, can I talk for a minute, please? I'm amazed, you completely described what happened in the past. I was on the council, I saw it, and that's why I resigned, because there was no sense even participating because it was run by just a few people. I completely agree, but I'm amazed that you don't understand that that's exactly what's going on here now.
no, that's not true.
Yep. Okay, I let you talk.
But you're on the outside looking in,
No.
I'm on the inside looking out.
Can I finish talking, please? So that's exactly what's been going on up here. This guy paid to get other people elected. I mean, don't you understand that they're beholden to him? He gave rights away to Matt Johnson, and he paid for his
That's
election.
bullshit.
No, it's not bullshit. It
It's
happened.
bullshit.
It happened.
No, it
It
did not
happened.
happen.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, how could you say it didn't happen?
Yeah,
Matt Johnson is subdividing and building the property now and getting a variance I couldn't get. Okay? I mean, it's hilarious that you would say that. Now, I do appreciate you admitting that you've been.
Officer of the Register of Statutes. What happened with Matt Johnson? What happened?
They gave him
with-
rights away.
He did not.
What was it then?
Because by precedent, the adjoining property owner, when there is an abandonment of a right-of-way or a vacation, the precedent in the state law, I have a verse and chapter. If you want to argue with me about it, go and argue.
That's not the
with me
point.
about it.
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. But if the city hadn't abandoned the right of way, he wouldn't have it. It's that simple. So they gave the rights away to Matt Johnson. He paid for his election, and yet you say that this is different. How can you not? It's no different than the Republicans doing one thing or the Democrats. It's the same thing either way.
This has nothing to do with politics.
This is all politics.
It's not politics.
This is all politics.
You'd like to make it politics.
I'm not.
Nothing to say to Howard.
I'm not.
I give you the opportunity.
Yeah,
I don't have anything to say, I'm trying to listen, but when there's too many people talking and interrupting each other, it's non-productive. I came because I'm new to the community. I'm reading about it, I'm trying to find out what's going on. This is not helpful to me, I found out nothing. People talking over the top and having separate conversations. There's issues. I'm trying to understand why there's so much acrimony. I haven't found that out. So for me to come here and try to learn, it's not been helpful. I can come to the council meetings, which I guess I'll need to be informed, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here to listen, but I can't listen when everybody's talking over
I
top
will
of
offer
each
that
other.
I'm always available. I put in my newsletter for coffee anytime. If you'd like to email me or text me, I'd be glad to get together with you. I do that with constituents all the time, every week. We get together and talk just about whatever the issues are and questions they have, so we can have a one-on-one and we don't have to get around to that kind of stuff. So offer that, because that's what I offer in my newsletter all the time.
I appreciate that.
You know, I'd say there was a lot to learn here today. First, you learn that the mayor won't talk to certain people no matter what the question. Second, you see he's completely aggressive to a nice lady who comes in with questions questioning his policies.
I didn't
He's
hear
defensive. Excuse me, I'm talking.
I didn't hear
You
that.
weren't here.
He was extremely aggressive and defensive against a lady who simply came to find out for herself. I think there was a lot to learn by this meeting. So I appreciate your coming to learn, but I'm just trying to help you understand. I think you could see some of the
One side of it on.
I think you could see some of the problem here today.
Yeah, one
You're right.
We haven't
Okay.
gotten to you yet,
I have
so.
one comment and I have a question for the mayor. Dennis and Mr. Mayor, first of all, I'd like to say that both of you have pointed to the table and said, everybody here is adversarial, okay? To this gentleman's point, I started coming to these breakfasts with the mayor back in January, February. I don't remember which month it was, maybe when they started. I have no agenda, had no ties with anybody, firefighting, public works, people that have previous issues with the city, nothing. And I've had kind of the same impression that, it's Jim, right?
Yes.
My apologies. That it kind of became this, I was attacked by the mayor at the first meeting, and now you both say everybody in this room is adversarial. I became defensive at that moment in time when I started questioning some things about the public works and then about the fire department. So please don't just throw me in and say, everybody here is adversarial and I've got a predetermined agenda, okay? I have never met any person in this room prior to coming to these few meetings that have never spoken to any one of them outside of this public forum. Now I have a question for the mayor. We keep hearing, and I've asked this question, maybe not directly, I'm gonna try and ask one question directly so I can hopefully get an answer. I keep hearing criticism, we keep hearing criticism of how the Long Lake / Orono Fire Department has been run over the years. And how the things have been hidden and how the things haven't been done right and how from the lack of response times to the funding to the, there's a whole bunch of things that I'm not pulling out of the air. Yet, you chose to hire the person that was in charge of that department as our fire chief. My question is, what's gonna change if in fact, and I think you indirectly answered this before saying, well, he didn't have the power to do anything. What has changed in the political piece that I don't understand that he did or didn't have in Long Lake that he now does or doesn't have in Orono to run the department in a better, more efficient, more economical way that you feel is better than what we've had in the past? So my question is, what's gonna change from the person running the fire department now versus before? That's my question to you, Mr. Mayor. In your opinion.
In my humble opinion, of course. We hired him because, well, first of all, we had a lot of good candidates that came when we put out the RFP for coming to be our fire chief. And he put his name in the hat towards the very end of the process. We had one really good candidate that we were ready to go with that was just top-notch. We had a lot of top-notch people. But we thought because of his insight and his knowledge of again, a little bit of a leg up, but he put his name in. We didn't go get him. He put his name in, that was up to him. Because he thought, and he said, that he thought the future of fire in this area is gonna run through Orono. And he says by coming here, he actually has a voice now. He didn't have a voice before. And we have obviously budgeting, we have HR, we have all the different things that he never had access to before. No one ever asked him to look into all the numbers and how things differentiate between station one, station two, and that's where we asked him to we got all the information from the Relief Association and Long Lake, so we could dig through all the numbers and ask him to do these things, which he wasn't asked to do before. That we found out that Long Lake did not know is that the problems that we had with response times. And that's not a reason why we're doing it. That's just something we found out in the process that we're gonna continue to move forward. And because he says he actually has a voice now, and we give him that voice, that's what we do with staff. We expect them to tell us what's going on because they're the ones on the ground, right? And so that's where we've given him more voice to do all that kind of stuff, and he knows the lay of the land very well. So with all that kind of stuff, I think we'll have once we bring those services in-house, we will be able to do a better job because of that with all those things in place. I don't know if that answers the full question, or if you have side questions on that as well, but.
Again, I guess if he was the leader, if in fact he wasn't given the power or the authority or the latitude to do what he thought was right or better over there, usually you want a leader in charge of something that's gonna do something because they see it and they wanna do it, not because they're being asked to do it. So now hang on, let me just finish. Now the fact that either previous or now that you're asking about response times and things and now you're getting the answers, then I have to question a little bit about, and I'm not here to judge him because I knew nothing about him. I know nothing about him other than, I know nothing about him. Other than to say that if he was running a department there that was less than satisfactory, and now you think because he was flipped the switch, he's gonna be running a department here that's gonna be superior to everybody around us, starting from the ground up. Boy, I have to say, I guess the jury's out yet on that.
Well, I guess I have confidence that we will do things better. It's not unlike when Mound canceled their entire police department, and now they contract all of their services with us. And there's much better response times, everybody's organized correctly, there's HR, and it's a better police service because of what we were able to do for them.
Let's hear it.
They
More about
canceled
the
their
response
service.
times of the station.
So it's
about
gonna
20
be, so
minutes.
with the fire department, like I said, that's not the reason why we did it, it's stuff we found out afterwards, subsequent to that he has a voice and do all that kind of stuff, and we will. I'm not gonna sit here and badmouth Long Lake, I'm just saying that we're doing it because we have 87% of the contract. The fire department.
Stop right there,
is
hold on. Please do me a favor, anytime you ever throw this out there, because I read the clip again this morning from Channel 5 from the 26th, okay? And I hear it from you repeatedly, I've heard it in this room several times. Quit saying, without prefacing it by saying that we also utilize 80% of the service, or 80,
Well, just
my numbers are wrong, 82
perspective on
to
the
90.
size of.
We got about a 10%, I realize it's a round number, and I told you this directly, and you could go back on tape. I've used a 10% swing. We got about a 10% swing in what we use versus what we paid for.
I'm not
Hang on, just let me finish that comment. And on a $1 million budget, I don't know if we're $1.2 million budget or a $900,000 budget, let's just use $1 million for round number. That's a $100,000 swing, okay? That we feel like we're overpaying for something that we're not getting. Now we're gonna spend 8 to 12 million, the number is, I don't think anybody knows
Nobody knows.
the number to correct this $100,000, what we feel is
Well, that's,
not
I would say that's an incorrect statement.
okay.
We're not, because of what we found out of what we need to do, we are gonna have to spend money to make sure this fire department is equipped correctly, whether it's with Long Lake or it's not with Long Lake. So the dollars are gonna get spent budgeting correctly regardless. We're just gonna do it with us in control. It's not unlike what I told the Tribune reporter or the Channel 5, whoever called me, I can't remember anymore, because they all seem to call me. I tell them, when somebody says, oh my God, you're gonna have to spend $10 million in roads over the next 10 years. I said, yeah, because we have $1 million in our budget every year. It may sound ominous, we say, God, you're gonna spend $10 million. Well, we have $1 million in our budget every year for roads.
No,
So
but
yes, we will
that to
spend.
me is a whole different,
Okay,
that's a whole different way of
you know how
saying
much
it.
we have in the budget over 10 years right now? Even today with Long Lake, we have $9 million over the next 10 years. So to say we're gonna spend $10 million, it's like, well, that's what's in our budget right now.
Well, you're gonna spend 10 million in the next
If
2.5
you
to
spend-
3 years, by the time you.
Yeah, back to the
fire this thing up.
Well, if that's what's required, we will have to spend that, whether it's with Long Lake or not with Long Lake.
Not true.
We're choosing to
But
do
again,
it
this
with
whole
ourselves.
contentious
Not true.
breakup
So
of
I'm
the,
just trying to clarify the
Not
comments. It's not, it's like water and sewer. We know we gotta do a mile of water and sewer.
you're diverting it, let's just stick with fire.
But it's.
No, it's not, because
the-
it's all-
Yes, it
it's
is.
the
It is.
perspective.
It is.
It's all
With all
infrastructure.
due respect, it's diverting it. I asked a
Yeah,
direct
but
question
When you
about
run a
fire.
big city,
I'm
and you
trying to
have
keep this-
infrastructure, the firefighting and the police enforcement and the city government is all infrastructure along.
Trust
the
me,
sewer.
I understand all those aspects of
Well, I
government.
do too.
Don't sit here and demean me
I've
that I
been
don't
a lot more
understand
city
it,
council
okay?
meetings than you
I'm
I'm trying to be
probably
specific to the
These
fire
aren't
department.
These aren't silos, they're all together.
We're not
The same
trying
thing
to
with
go out and
police.
start a new public works department for Long Lake. We're taking an existing fire department that represents us and we're,
And the only reason
trying
that
to
it
break away
became
from it.
contentious, as you
We're not
mentioned, which
breaking
it
away from
has,
anybody. We're
is
just
because
bringing our
the
services
Long
in.
Lake City
That's all we're
Council and this Long Lake City government doesn't want to give up the power and the control, the little bit of it that it's had. That's the most contentious
because
point.
there was no
And
negotiation that went on.
There was a
Oh, there's
lot of
lots of
negotiation, there were
negotiation.
hours and
So you're
hours and
wrong on
hours
that.
of negotiation.
Funny, I'm a citizen of Orono. I've gone to 2 meetings up at Long Lake, and I felt more transparency, more openness there. It felt, again, it's a feeling, than I did any of the meetings I've ever been up to at this city hall, I can tell you that, and open and honesty, and I can go there and dig in the records and find out, if I chose to, as much as I can
But
here.
you didn't hear what I said. The contention is because the Long Lake governance does not want to relinquish power to the other entity. That's what's really caused the
They don't
conflict.
want
So,
to lose all their
you know what?
firefighters.
That's your opinion, that's my.
It's all Long Lake's fault, right? That's all you're saying. It's all Long Lake's fault. That's a ridiculous statement, and it's insulting to the
They
people
don't
of
want
Long
to be
Lake.
molested by Orono. That's what it is.
No, it's not. Well, you're putting out
She
propaganda.
molested right here.
We are not taking Long Lake's fire department. Long Lake's fire.
You took their
department
fire
50 years
chief?
ago, It was there before they were doing Orno's business. And remember, they've only done Orno's business in the bar since 2007. They've only been doing the other stuff since 2000. And
Only.
they actually took the business away from Maple Plain, Mound, and Excelsior before they got it. So those communities were mad, they lost the business. Now this contract is coming up, and we're just bringing it in-house. We haven't been with Long Lake for 100 years. They're still gonna have the Long Lake Fire Department, and if they wanna keep it, that's up to them. We're not taking their fire department. Will they need 30 on-call fire department people for the 40 calls that they have in Long Lake for a year? Well, of course not, because they're gonna lose 85% of the territory. So they only have so much territory, they'll have plenty of firefighters for their territory, but they don't need 35 to service 40 calls in Long Lake.
So who's,
They will have-
5% of the territory?
so who's taking those? The other firefighters they don't need. And who took their fire chief?
Does that translate to 85?
And who tried to take their relief fund?
Well, that's funny too. These are all actually lies.
They're not lies.
Lies and lies. So let me talk about the Relief Association. First of all, because people don't understand the Relief Association. The Relief Association is run by the firefighters. They have all the pension dollars in the Relief Association. Long Lake doesn't control it, Orono doesn't control it, and actually, Long Lake has never given a dime to the pension in the Relief Association. It all comes from the state. It's state money managed by the firefighters, and the state is the one who controls it. When we went to the legislature, and Long Lake actually went with us, so they were invited and they came with us, we wanted to put language in that would give the firefighters the option to move their funds to a different relief association, because you have to have one if you have a fire department, to continue their vesting of their years of service. It was for them, it had nothing to do with us, because it's not our money, we don't control the money, it's not Long Lake's money, and Long Lake doesn't control the money. It's controlled by the firefighters, and it's all state money. It would just give them the opportunity, and even the firefighters said, we're not worried about that, so we can move on. When we want to do it later, we're confident we can do that, because the legislature has always approved those items over the decades, and that's not a problem. But no one is taking Long Lake's Relief Association money, because it's not Long Lake's to begin with. It's the Relief Association. They manage it. Long Lake has never put a dime into it. Orono has never put a dime into it. It all comes from the state. So that's not a complicated issue. We were just doing it for the firefighters. And they don't seem to think it's a problem, so we're okay with it too.
How many do you think are coming over?
Excuse me, what were you doing then, if it's state funded? The firefighters didn't care what happened. What were you doing? What were you trying to do? What were you accomplishing?
We were accomplishing to give the Long Lake firefighters in current legislation to have it done, to have them have the ability, if they wanted to, because they don't even have to. If they, when they come over to the Orono Fire Department, which we already have two,
They ain't coming.
and that they would then be able to bring their funds over, because when you move from fire department to fire department, if you move from, you have to start all over from a vesting standpoint. So we're trying to bring them the ability.
Hearts and minds.
Can you look, can
Hearts
I
and
even
minds,
talk?
they like their new
See,
chief.
this is
They're
the
not
problem, Jim, they just.
Yeah.
I-
This
yeah,
guy's
I
not
never
even an
finish.
Orono resident.
Yeah, he should give me a chance to speak,
Jim,
and then we can hear
He's
what I
not
have
an
to
Orono
say.
resident. Orono residents.
I
are
own
invited.
$2 million worth of property right down the road here in Orono. Don't give me that shit. You don't even know who I
But you're
am.
not a
Been here
resident.
50
So what?
Please.
We're
You
just
let them
looking
have a
at
conversation.
it over to the
Right.
company.
I appreciate it.
But, so you're, what we were doing is spending, is taking time and resources for a problem that doesn't exist.
Oh, no, it still needs to get solved, but the firefighters aren't worried about it at this point. But it still would have to, you would still have to have the legislation.
So you're claiming a lot of credit for something that the constituents didn't care about, that could happen at another time, but you want to claim credit for as being a wonderful thing. I would rather you spend your time and energy, and the time and energy of this city on dealing with real issues that are current than doing things like that. And that's, I think, a really good example of why there are people in this community who are very unhappy. And with all deference to you, sir, and I've been in this community since 1970, let's see, 79. Why, in fact, there are a lot of people who are becoming increasingly unhappy. We'd like to have real problems solved.
Well, let me tell you,
And
at
one of
the
those-
time, the firefighters wanted
Excuse me,
that.
may I finish?
Well, you're making a lot of statements and.
I'm
statements,
saying
direct
a lot-
questions, but making
No,
statements.
I'm
I'm
there
kind of
was
losing
a
track of all your
there was
statements
a
at this
question,
point.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry you can't keep up.
Your monologue.
You
We
can't
only
keep up,
have,
that's
we only have
too
a
bad.
population of about 8,000 people, and only a percentage of those are actual registered voters. Now, when you start talking about
I'm a
this.
head election
when you-
judge for
when you-
that.
well,
So
a lot
don't
of
talk to
people-
me about
a
people
lot of
voting,
people-
okay?
A lot of people have been election judges, it's a volunteer job.
That's
I'm
right.
very aware of it.
That's right.
But what I'm trying to say
You're
is
welcome.
that you shouldn't be speaking for the constituents.
Neither should you.
Speaking for yourself.
Neither should you, and neither should him.
He should be.
So you don't get to point a finger at someone else and tell them they can't.
Mandate of the vote.
You shouldn't be speaking for anybody else yourself. You're gonna point the finger at her? What a hypocrite.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I would like to know, and I phrased it as a question when I started, why it is you spend time and effort doing things like we were just discussing, the fireman's relief, instead of solving real issues.
Okay, is that the question? Okay, well, first of all, the firefighters wanted it solved too. They weren't completely,
2 minutes ago, you said they didn't.
this was after the fact. I'm giving you the before the fact now, when you say, why you shouldn't have done that. Well, when there's issues, as a business person, you're always trying to solve the issues of knowing that need to get solved no matter what. A lot of the firefighters, that was a big issue for them. And so we took the time to get a hold of everybody and bring everybody together at the legislature to try and solve that issue. And in the end, the firefighters said, you know, I think we're comfortable enough at this point that we know that'll get taken care of. And some of the fighters don't like what some of the other firefighters said, so they're not in all agreement about this. that they think that they're not gonna worry about that at this point, and they'll worry about it later, but it still has to get done. But we've already greased the wheels with everybody, the language, and everything's already in place. So we've done a lot of the stuff that will need to be done already in the future, regardless. It has to get done still, but we already have the blocks in place.
Fair answer. And may I also say, you're not the only business person.
I'm not sure what that means.
Well, you seem to imply that as a business owner,
Well, yeah,
you know everything. I've been a business owner for many years.
and so
And
you
I
should
have-
probably know as a business owner, you
don't
search, you
create
check boxes, you
problems.
get
Yeah,
things
I-
done, and you check boxes, and
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
and that's
you
what we're
don't-
doing.
You don't start fires in your own living room,
Okay.
in your own warehouse.
Any other questions for me? I know you had one question, and I think we answered it. I don't know if you have any more on the same topic or a different topic.
I'm here to listen and educate myself. I'm not here to be the constant adversarial that I've been accused to be by both yourself and
I am.
Well, I can continue to educate about all the great things we put in place, that when I got in, there was no roads budget. We have $1 million a year now. They used to hope that they would have some money at the end of the year to do roads. Now we don't have hope and pray. We actually have a budget. We had zero parks budget when I started. Now we're $250,000 a year to actually maintain our parks, which were not being maintained when I got in the office. Water and sewer, they weren't even accounting for depreciation and useful life issues on water and sewer. We were gonna run out of money. We changed that to say, we need to account for that, because if you got 40 miles of pipe underground and there's a 40-year life, you need to plan a mile a year. You need to have that in your budget. That's what people do. So we've got all that now, over the years, incrementally, everything is funded in our budget for that stuff. Nobody else does that around us. Like I said before, we've set the standard how to do it. You can do it, you just have to prioritize. And that's what we have done. We've also brought technology in. There's not 30 file cabinets of paperwork anymore. If you wanna go look for stuff on people's properties, it's all digitized now and for all the different properties, so you can find out quickly. And we did that because we brought together a great code review committee with builders and realtors and just people knowledgeable about the process, and say, we need to do this. What can we do to vet all this stuff out and get it done correctly? It took a lot of time because we put a system in place and then get it vetted and get all the pieces put together little by little. And now it's operational and working great. Everything's online. So technology has been a great useful thing. Now, we also have a 3D technology model that we did with all of Orono that shows all the roads in a 3D model, water, sewer, roads, etc. And you can click on any portion at any time and find out how old that road is, how old the pipes are, if we did projects, who did them, how much it was, when it was done. It is amazing what we have brought in place with help from the staff and everything else and the tools that they need to do things correctly. We put it all in place, and like I said, we are the standard of what you can do in the, we have a AAA bond rating for a population under 10,000. We're one of like 20 or 25 cities in the entire United States with that bond rating. We're still amazed at what we have on our budget on top of that. So we have done a great job. Getting all that, we plan for this. Our public works is a perfect example. We have a 30,000 square foot public works building over here, and it was built 30 plus years ago, surrounded by swamps, nowhere to go, no expansion, and we've been out of room for a long time. Our community has grown, we do a lot of services for cities around us because they're smaller, and so we have all those capabilities now. So we built a facility that's 60,000 or 65, with another ability to add another 20,000 feet onto it in the future with all of our, and in the last few years, we also brought in-house our services of our maintenance of our plow trucks, our public works trucks, all that kind of stuff, where we were doing so much of outsourcing, fixing vehicles, and not getting all the times correctly, getting it back from a timely fashion, that we decided that we could bring that in-house, hire our own full-service mechanic and do all that stuff in-house. We can obviously always go out if we're overwhelmed or have too much to do, but so we were able to build that in our new facility, a whole maintenance facility within the facility to be able to do all this stuff. So we should be good into the 23rd century in terms of what we need from all of our public works and capabilities. We did it bonding at 1.9%. because we knew interest rates were going up, so that's an amazing feat all by itself, because we knew what was coming as business people. And we projected and knew exactly what we were doing, and the finance agreed, and the city agreed, and we got it all in place. So it's amazing. I could go on and on and on. all
Please
these
don't.
things.
Okay,
That's-
I mean, thank you for answering a lot of questions we didn't ask there. But since you responded to me already on the Fireman Relief Fund, I'm assuming that you're talking to me now. So I would like to ask my question one more time. What is your response to the fact that you admitted that you personally directed city staff when it's against city ordinance?
Again, anybody with lawsuits, I'm not gonna answer.
You already responded to me once.
Somebody else
You
wants to ask that
already
question?
responded to me.
I did, and you didn't answer.
Well, you've asked a lot of questions and some things that,
I asked the question just after you refused to answer that,
well,
General.
what question?
And you didn't
I don't-
answer, and you didn't answer me either.
I guess I don't recall you asking any of that question at all. Okay, what is the question? Okay, sure.
The question is, how do you justify meeting by yourself with a public works director and quote, getting things sorted out when that's in violation of the law?
I don't understand what's in violation of any law, I'm not familiar with exactly what meeting you're referring to. I can meet with
The
anybody.
meeting that you.
You admitted it during the last city council
For the
meeting.
open meeting law?
Yeah, absolutely, and I can meet with, I don't, the open meeting law relates to 3 council members getting together. Me meeting with the public works director, or the finance director, or the police chief, or the fire chief, I can come and meet
There-
with them anytime.
No,
No, it's not.
Depends on what you do.
I can meet with them at any time.
Actually, no, you can't. You cannot. There's a statute in Orono that says city council and mayor cannot direct city staff alone. It has to be done as a group. And that was enacted years and years ago when a single person was doing it.
So I can respond to that again, I can meet with anybody at the city, as can any council member.
And not direct, but you can't direct them. You admitted that you directed them. You admitted it up there when you said you worked with them to get something accomplished.
I don't recall any,
You
I
admit,
do not recall the conversation of what is being referred to here. So.
you admitted last meeting, when you were talking during one of the items, that you sat down with the person and you worked out the details of certain things. That is strictly against Orono statute.
You know, when I can.
Well,
meet
hold on,
with-
that's right,
I
statutes
can
don't
meet
apply to
with-
you, do they?
I can meet with.
You can clear cut a bluff illegally and get that thrown out? Statutes just don't apply to you.
Constantly talk. But I can meet again with any city staff. I
You
can,
can't direct them.
I can,
You can't direct them, and that's what you admitted you did.
I can work with city staff.
I've got it on
to come
tape.
up With anything.
Orono's got it on tape.
I can come up with any city staff on any time. There's no rule against working with city staff on coming up with ordinances or anything else.
Yes, there is.
And then.
Yes, there is. There's a
that again
statute.
Has to get presented
Yes,
to the
there is.
council because I.
Yes,
cannot
there
vote-
is.
I cannot vote.
No, there is. There is a Orono
Jim,
ordinance preventing you from
Let's-
doing that.
Let's do us all a favor, next time you have something like that to quote, where you're quoting verse and chapter, bring it with you. At least when I come prepared.
I
with
don't
verse
have
and
to. They
chapter.
tried to use it against me when I was on the council. I know it exists.
How about you?
Somebody
Let's
asked-
talk about the
Hey,
business,
Dennis.
the people, and doing the people's business.
Let's talk about the hypocrite over here who wants to tell other people how to speak.
Okay, well,
Let's
it's
talk-
10 o'clock and
let's
I
talk-
do have to go.
Can I say something for
You
Jim's
guys can
benefit?
stay here. You guys, there's nothing.
I'd like to
that
say
says you guys
something
gotta
for
leave,
Jim's
But I do
benefit.
have to go.
Jim, the voice of moderation.
What about
The
real?
mayor summarized the
Appreciate
improvements
it.
that are recently.
Reach out to me for coffee, Jim, if you'd like.
That was my point earlier.
What about reopening
Is
a
that
public
I'm
meeting
making
without notice to the
comparisons
public?
Of what the administration was like here before. as a
Okay,
former
well,
resident, and trying to get in.
that guy
with
right
group of
there.
people Was almost an impossibility.
He-
Except for 2 people who are very, very much ombudsmen, and good public servants. And that's why I ended up campaigning and working to make the change in government. I stood up and spoke up and campaigned to have a
Mr.
change.
Louis, did you lose your real estate license over that campaigning?
I've never, ever had a censure or any complaint from anyone in 35 years.
That's not true.
Did
That's
you
not true.
lose your
You,
license over that campaign for Denny Walsh?
that's not true at all, because you violated Wayzata parade rules and allowed Walsh as a political candidate into your float and I made a complaint to the Wayzata Parade Committee. I've got the paperwork. They agreed that that was wrong, and they told you never to do it
I
again.
was answering her question.
Yeah. No, but you lied.
Yeah.
You outright, you said you never had a complaint or this or that. That's not
If you don't
true.
wanna push the button that has me bring out my.
Facts suck, don't they?
Yeah.
Facts really suck. And he's gonna find that out in these lawsuits, how much facts suck.
Yeah, the fact that you showed up in an orange jumpsuit because you've been jailed for your bad behavior.
Bad behavior, really? What criminal act did I commit?
I didn't say you did a criminal act, I said you had bad behavior.
Bad behavior, a useless chunk of buried concrete in the ground is bad behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah? I just want everyone to know, that guy is extremely biased towards Walsh, and anything he says is no different than Walsh speaking
I
himself.
sat for years in the Minneapolis Area Association Governmental Affairs Committee, who annually during campaigns, yeah, you don't really.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
Like he said, you didn't care.
You guys are so perfect.
But our
There's no one
governmental,
there, Dennis.
the Governmental Affairs Committee at the Minneapolis Area Association sponsored and supported candidates in every city. So nothing that I did was in violation of any statutory or regulatory compliance.
Then how come you lost your license?
I never lost my license.
You didn't?
I've been persistently and consistently licensed for 35 years.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Like I said, folks, when Libby speaks, Walsh speaks, because Walsh is the one telling him what to
That's
say,
right.
I guarantee you
That's
that.
right, he's one of
And
the closest
did,
allies.
did you notice today how there was another lady here? There was another lady here who had never been here, none of us had ever met, and the first thing Walsh did was get extremely defensive and angry, talk over her, was rude, and everything. I mean, it's truly amazing. And I am correct, there is a city ordinance that says he cannot direct city staff. He admitted it on the dais. They had 2 recent open meeting violations in the city where they had meetings after the
But you
closed
can't quote
meetings.
the verse and chapter.
I can look it up, you can look it up. Why do I have to quote it?
Well,
No, why do I have to quote it? If it's a statute, it's a statute. If it's an ordinance, it's an ordinance. I don't have to quote it for it to be in existence.
Let the man speak to his camera,
Yeah, no shit.
to his audience.
Include them in a little bit. But this is typical. It was really interesting, the gentleman on my left who came to see what was happening, and he didn't really understand that he was seeing the problem right in front of him. He was seeing, with this interaction with this lady and him, defensive, jump, and he
This guy's a
doesn't.
complete joker.
Oh, yeah. Dennis Libby?
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Complete joker. Well, anyone else got anything?
He is a big staunch supporter of Mr. Walsh.
Yeah,
and
no
has
kidding.
been- Yeah, he, on Walsh's page in 2016.
No, hey, I'd like to ask you guys, do you have anything to say to my audience after today's meeting, an opinion or anything to give?
Yes, I would like to say that I am happily going to join the forces of the last 4 previous mayors of this city and do everything I can to make sure that this city government is brought back to the high level of respect and esteem which it earned over many years before Dennis Walsh came into this community.
There you go, folks. Turbine Guy, signing off.